Maybe someday I'll take my frustration out on the younger generation when I become completely washed up. When, Buckley? All right. Well, until then, support The Habit at patreon.com/doseofbuckley. 11 years ago, I did a video called Apologies for Comedy, where I talked about how the most annoying thing in comedy was people who weren't willing to stand behind their jokes, who would say something and then take it back. Now, the most annoying thing in comedy is people complaining about all the things they'd have to apologize for if they did say them, and then saying them anyway, and collecting a huge paycheck to do so. We've seen Dave Chappelle do this, get paid $20 million per special to tell you how canceled he is, so canceled that he did 7 specials. Do the math. Joe Rogan just got paid another $250 million from Spotify to do his show, where he tells you about all the things he's not allowed to say and has all these guests on that he's not supposed to have on, getting 10, 15 million listeners per episode. But I expect it from those guys at this point. That's their brand. But someone I didn't expect to go all, you can't make jokes no more, is Jerry Seinfeld. Jerry is perhaps the most well-known clean comic alive, maybe next to Jim Gaffigan. He doesn't swear. He's gone on record as saying that if a joke requires you to say fuck to get a bigger laugh, it's lazy and cheap and the joke wasn't funny enough in the first place. Fuck that guy. Even though he didn't create observational comedy, everyone who ever does an impression of him does it like this. What's the deal with airplane food? There's nothing he's ever done, comedically, that could even be considered remotely controversial. Dating a 17-year-old when he was 38, hilariously, is only considered controversial now. Back in the 90s, everyone just laughed it off as, oh, that cradle robber Jerry, haha, what a funny weirdo. But anyway, he did an interview to promote his new movie, Unfrosted, a movie about the creation of the Pop-Tart, which, by the way, is based on a 10-minute bit he does in his stand-up act. I'm not joking. He does a bit about how incredible he thinks Pop-Tarts are, and then he managed to convince someone to let him make a movie about it. And during the interview, he said this. I won't do the voice this time. It used to be, you would go home at the end of the day, most people would go, oh, Cheers is on, oh, MASH is on, oh, Mary Tyler Moore is on, All in the Family is on. You just expected there'll be some funny stuff we can watch on TV tonight. Well, guess what? Where is it? This is the result of the extreme left and PC crap, and people worrying so much about offending other people. He goes on to use one of his own episodes as an example. That the episode where Kramer and Newman try to start a rickshaw business by using homeless people could never be made today, that he'd have to make a different joke. First off, are the homeless sending a lot of angry letters to TV stations about their representation? I have a feeling they don't really get a chance to watch many sitcoms. And second, that's just nonsense. If it was so offensive, wouldn't there be massive campaigns to have that episode, or the whole show, removed from streaming services in general if it's so culturally insensitive now? Don't give the wokies any ideas, Buckley. Yeah, I know, the rainbow-haired militia are hiding under your bed, coming for everything you hold dear. At least that's what the grifters tell you, so you'll keep giving them your money. But the reason that bit worked then, and the reason it still works, is that the bit doesn't make fun of homeless people at all. It makes fun of Kramer and Newman, attempting yet another get-rich-quick scheme and failing because of their own stupidity. You'd hope that Jerry would understand that, since he wrote the episode. This is the same reason why Seinfeld worked in general. You're laughing at them, not with them. This is what makes every sitcom ever work, including the ones you couldn't make today. Like, yes, I'll concede that you couldn't remake All in the Family word for word. The racial slurs would probably be frowned upon, even if It's Always Sunny got away with it only 7 years ago in an episode that's still on Disney Plus here in Canada, aka Commie Cuck Central. But All in the Family worked, and is still funny today, perhaps now more than ever, because Archie is the punchline, a relic of a man being left behind by an ever-changing world. F is for Family, which in many ways was a remake of All in the Family mixed with Married with Children. Same thing. Frank is the punchline. He's politically incorrect, and we can laugh at his absurdity. I just mentioned It's Always Sunny. It had one of its best years ever last season. Still incredibly funny, still incredibly un-PC. They get away with it because they're the idiots. We're laughing at them. And the interviewer mentioned Curb Your Enthusiasm to Jerry, created by his old writing partner Larry David, which he waved off as, "Oh, Larry's grandfathered in, so the rules don't apply to him, and it's on HBO." And then complains that none of the 4 major networks, that'd be ABC, CBS, NBC, or Fox, picked up a sitcom this year, which is a little disingenuous. No, they didn't pick up any new sitcoms, but they renewed the junk they still have. Things like The Conners, or Animal Control, or Abbott Elementary, or the Night Court remake. There are sitcoms on TV, just not as many, and they're not as popular. That's not the far left's fault. Audiences just aren't interested in 30-minute sitcoms where there's no overarching story and the status quo remains unchanged, the staples of the humble network sitcom. I looked at the top shows on Netflix while writing this. It's a reality show, a documentary about TikTok, and 3 long-form dramas. That's what people are watching on TV. It's got nothing to do with the far left. Audiences just aren't interested in sitcoms, which is why NBC would rather have 3 fucking shows about Chicago emergency services and 2 Law and Orders, why CBS has 3 FBI shows and 2 NCIS, and they stuffed their Frasier sequel show on Paramount Plus where they don't have to give a shit if anyone watches it. Audiences want to watch big, dumb-titted women get pursued by brain-dead muscle men on a beach, and cop and legal dramas. Does that sound like they're pandering to the far left? Oh yes, you know what the far left loves? Glorifying the police. So, I don't know what the fuck Jerry's doing here. Is he planning his pivot, like so many other old, irrelevant celebrities? Because, sorry if I've made this simile before, but at this point, this is just marketing. It's the equivalent of the explicit content label on a CD in the 90s to get kids or even young adults to think they're getting away with something. Buying this forbidden thing that the man doesn't want you to have. Comedy, it's too dangerous. They took it off your TV, and they try and hide it in basement nightclubs. And on $20 million Netflix specials. And in 2,500 seat venues at $250 a ticket. He alludes to this a little bit, saying, now people are going to see stand-up comics because we are not policed by anyone. No one has ever needed to police you, Jerry Seinfeld. Like, is this all him setting up for when he starts doing his new material? What's the deal with transgenders? They're not quite a man, they're not quite a woman. I don't know who to hold the door for anymore. But yes, stand-up comedy, podcasts, those are the formats where comedy thrives now, not on sitcoms. I know I bring him up every fucking time we do this, but Shane Gillis, who got cancelled, is still the most supported creator on Patreon, and it's not even fucking close. 92,000 people give his podcast $5 a month minimum. That's $460,000 a month. $5.5 million a year, again, minimum, to do the same podcast that got him fired from SNL, where he would have made $147K a year. He doesn't need SNL. He doesn't need networks. In fact, Netflix just gave him a sitcom. Oh, but again, sitcoms are all dying because of PC woke leftists. No, networks are dying, Jerry, and comedy is rightfully like rats on a sinking ship, fleeing those networks for new platforms. But yeah, I think he might be trying to go after that sweet, sweet Rogan audience, that Chappelle audience. In another interview a month later, he talked about how he misses dominant masculinity. Real men, like JFK, Muhammad Ali, and Sean Connery. You know what's real manly? Complaining that some fictional boogeymen took the Mary Tyler Moore show from you. Well, Jerry, your pal Patrick Warburton's doing voiceover work for a cartoon on the Daily Wire. Maybe he can get you a show there. How's this idea? You can have it for free. Seinfeld's moved away from liberal Jew York City to Manly Man's Texas, where his old friend David Putty is now running his own chain of garages. Jerry works there part-time while trying to get his stand-up career back after being canceled by the woke mob for making too many Eggo waffle jokes. Hey, Jerry. great being away from all those liberals, huh? Yeah, and what's the deal with pride? No one's ever been proud of having sex with me. How come they get to be proud? I hear you, buddy. Here's to being straight. What's the matter, networks? Too scared to air real comedy like that?